Welcome everyone to another episode of How to Make Money in Stocks with Investors Business Daily. Now, unfortunately, Amy is feeling a bit under the weather today, so it's just me this week. But luckily, before she started feeling that way, we were able to do the webinar that we mentioned on last week's show. And in that webinar, we discuss our upcoming shift from a daily to a weekly version of IBD and also how to get the most out of the all-new Investors.com. And if you weren't able to tune in live, you can still check out the archived version on our site, Investors.com/investing show. Now, on this week's episode, since we're entering Q1 earnings season, we're going to take a look at how you can quickly find stocks that have rising earning estimates and are about to report. Q1 got off to a good start Friday with the NASDAQ and the S&P both recovering nicely from an early morning decline due to a mixed jobs report for March. Jobs growth slowed from 245,000 new hires in February to 215,000 in March. But the slowdown was not as much as expected, and new private payroll jobs came in below forecasts. But after that initial dip in the morning, the NASDAQ bounced back to close above the 200-day line and at the top of the price range. Of course, the big buzz of the week came from Tesla's unveiling of the Model 3, which will start at just $35,000 and have a one-charge range of at least 215 miles. Now, pre-orders blew past Wall Street estimates with over 200,000 people already putting in their requests for the electric vehicle, which is set to go on sale next year. As IBD's Alyssa Williams reported, one analyst expects that number to reach 300,000 by the end of the weekend. Now that would mean $10 billion worth of reservations and set a world record for pre-orders for a consumer tech company. Now, Tesla's stock has skidded for quite some time, but it started bouncing off the bottom in mid-February and has now moved back above its 40-week line. On this daily chart, you can see how the stock popped on Friday, but note it gave back a big chunk of those gains to close in the lower half of the price range. Volume was 198% above average. Now, generally, leading stocks have been healthy, showing nice chart action, but Facebook's chart is a good example of something that's been missing in stock setting up, and that is volume. While trading has been tight in the right side of the base, volume has been well below average. The social media giant is trying to clear a 117.69 entry. Google parent Alphabet is another example of this. Note how its most recent pattern also looks a lot like Facebook's. Trading has been tight in the right side of the base, but like with Facebook, volume has been lacking. Now, another stock worth noting is Edwards Lifesciences. It's formed multiple bases and broken out multiple times since last summer, and that has definitely tested the patience of anyone who owns that stock. After jumping higher during the week ended February 19th, it's traded within a tight range, and volume has been generally quiet and below average. Then this week, volume picked up, and Edwards Lifesciences tried to poke its head above that trading range. So while we are in a market uptrend and several leaders are setting up or still floating within buy range, the current environment certainly calls for both discipline and patience. You want to stay disciplined and look for quality stocks breaking out in heavy volume. And once you buy, stay patient and give the stock some time to climb as long as it doesn't trigger your sell rules. Now, focusing on the weekly chart for stocks you own can help with that, since the weekly chart really smooths out a lot of the daily fluctuations that can spook more jittery investors. We do have some earnings reports on tap for next week, including from Walgreens and Rite Aid, which it is in the process of buying. Constellation Brands is also due to report, and it closed Friday within about 2% of a potential buy point. Also up is Ollie's Bargain Outlet, which is a 2015 IPO stock that broke out recently and is now about 6% above its buy point. Since Q1 earnings season is now underway, let's take a look at where you can easily and quickly find stocks that have rising estimates and are about to report. You go to the Stock List tab on Investors.com, which is where you'll find links to all of our best screens, and under that, click the Rising Profit Estimates link. As the description at the top says, this screen reveals top-rated growth stocks whose earnings estimates are on the rise. A solid track record of growth is one thing, but future growth also matters. Now, as we all know, there are no guarantees when it comes to earnings season, but when you find a stock with a solid track record of earnings growth and you see that the analysts have been raising their estimates for that company, that's a stock that you want to have on your watch list. So let's take a look at some of the names on this screen, and one is U.S. Concrete. The ticker is USCR. U.S. Concrete provides ready-mix concrete and related products for the commercial, residential, and public works construction industries. And just like with its rival Vulcan Materials, analysts expect U.S. Concrete to get a nice boost from the $305 billion transportation bill that President Obama signed in December. And that's helped boost the stock, which has been moving higher since January. It cleared a 59.50 buy point last month and is now trading at the very upper limit of that 59.50 to 62.48 buy zone. And you can see the numbers that are driving that. U.S. Concrete posted earnings growth of 457% in Q4, along with a 47% rise in sales. The company is expected to report Q1 numbers on May 5th. Ulta Beauty is another company with rising profit estimates. The cosmetics retailer certainly has a solid track record of strong and steady earnings and sales growth, as you can see here, and it's expected to report its latest numbers on May 28th. And that brings up a really important point about earnings season. It is very risky to buy a stock just before it reports. For example, if you buy a stock, say, 2 or 3 days before it does report, that doesn't leave you a lot of time to build a profit cushion. So if the stock tanks after reporting, you don't have enough profits to cushion that blow. But in the case of Ulta, it doesn't report until the end of May, so that gives you more time. Now, this is not a recommendation. You always want to do your own research, but the stock broke out last month and is still trading within a 188.58 to 198.01 buying range. So you can check out all the stocks on this list by going to the Stock List tab on investors.com and clicking on Rising Profit Estimates. Now also keep in mind that this list is updated daily, so during earnings season, be sure to check the screen regularly to see any new names that appear on this list. Okay, before we wrap up, we want to remind you to please check out the archived version of the webinar that Amy and I did on thenewinvestors.com and the upcoming changes to IBD. Now, as soon as it's ready, we will have a link to it on our website at investors.com/investing show. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm sure Amy will be back with us next week, so we'll see you then.